Hey everyone! So we have all of these photos now. How do you decide which is the best photo to turn in? So this is where I'm going to show you my method at least. I know in the book the author shared with you his method, and I partially agree. If I'm remembering correctly, he said he doesn't use stars. Now I do use stars in a very specific way. Now before I get into that though, so right now I've imported these last photos I just took on campus. I'm in the previous import area of my catalog. Now, if I want to move these photos around within here, like, let's say I click on one and I want to move it over here, it's not going to let me because we're in this current, the previous import folder. So what I need to do is go to the actual folder it's in. So I'm going to come on down here and click on Composition Project. And this also has all of my other photos from the first time I shot this project also. So now I have all of my photos all together in one place and I can start moving them around. Now, if, for me, I know these concepts, I know these techniques, so it's going to be a little bit faster for me to move these around. Now, since you're still learning them, something that you might consider doing, and this is completely up to you, it's not part of the assignment, but you might want to make a collection set with different collections for each of the type of photos. So this is what I mean. I can go ahead and do create a collection set, and I'm going to do photo 6 composition. I'm going to call them pics. Or, I don't know, composition project. Yeah, I don't have one over there already, so let's just go ahead and do that. Alright, and so this is my collection set. Now within this collection set, I can now add individual collections for each of these. So I can go rule of thirds. Okay, and then create, the next one. Whoops, cancel. Create collection, leading lines, and so forth. So that's an option for you. If that helps you stay a little bit organized, that's completely fine. But real quick, let me just go back so I can show you what I mean by the stars thing. Okay, so let's go back. Here's my composition project. Now, how I personally like to use stars is to help me edit down my photos. And what I mean by editing down is picking the best shots from the entire photo shoot. This is going to be something you're going to have to do all the time. Let's say you do a portrait job and you take hundreds of photos of someone, but you're only delivering them, 10 photos or 20 photos maybe, depending on the package price. So you have to figure out which ones are the best, and you're going to have photos that look very similar to each other. So for example, let's come down here. And alright, so here's this pole photo. I'm going to go ahead and move them all over next to each other. Let's go ahead and move this down and move this one down. So now I have all my pole photos together. Now right away I can see that my exposure is way too bright on this one. So this is not one I want to use. I'm going to leave that one at 0 stars. This one, these are looking okay. They're not as bright as this one, not as dark as these. I'm loving the color pops on these. So yeah, definitely don't want to use this one though. So I'm gonna go ahead and look at these, and I like to go full screen when I'm looking at them. So let's see. This one looks okay. So let's say this is a 1 star, 1 star. I don't want that one, so I'm gonna leave that one off. 1 star, 1 star. I like the background on these ones though. Okay, let me see. I might be able to edit them. And that one, so these two, this one looks brighter than this. If my videos hadn't messed up, you guys would have known that while I was out shooting this, there was clouds out. And so literally like every few seconds the light was changing. So I'd get my exposure down, looks great, go take a shot, and all of a sudden a cloud would move and it'd get really bright again. So that's just what happens sometimes. Alright, so now that I have these marked as 1 star, what I can do is come up here to the library filters, and I can click on attribute, And if I click on 1 star, it's going to show me only the photos that have 1 star on them. So now what I like to do is I come back through, let's go full screen, and this time I'm going to pick my favorite by using my favorites out of these ones using 2 stars. And what I'm doing for this, the keyboard shortcut, is just the numbers at the top. So for 1 star, you hit the number 1 and to give it a 1 star. 2, hit the number 2 and you get a 2 star. So let's look through these. And yeah, I'm not liking the background on those, but I really like it on this one. So this is going to be, you know, my 2 star. Now I'm stopping here because this is the photo I want to work with. I don't need to keep going, but if you're in really tough situations, you can keep going to 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars until you get it narrowed down to exactly the photo that you want to work on. Yeah, and at this point I would go ahead and switch this all the way to 5 stars. So if I want to look at just the 5-star photos later, I can get there. But yeah, so that's how I personally use stars. It's totally up to you. Same with, you know, the collections, up to you if you want to use the collections or not. You could also use, you know, the colors up here if you really wanted to help you figure out which are all of your rule of third shots and such. So quick little tip there. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a minute and organize all these and then star them up, and then I'll show you what I come up with. Okay, so I was having a really hard time making some decisions here. I did end up making some different collections inside of this collection set to separate everything. You can see just from the numbers that I have so many photos for Fill the Frame, and part of the reason was actually because I wanted to show you guys like some progression shots. So for example, let's look at the phone booth. So here is this phone booth. Let me go full screen. Here on campus, doesn't look like anything really remarkable to shoot, right? But as I started looking around at it, and looking at what was really drawing my attention, I was filling my frame with that. So, you know, here's another vertical shot, still not looking good, a little bit lower angle, looks a little more interesting now. Then I'm starting to get closer and I'm noticing that there's this like broken area, so then I'm getting really close on it. And then when I got really close, I had to change my exposure. I looked at my photo, it was like, oh Lord, that's way too dark. So let's go ahead and change our exposure and play with the angles a little bit. I started looking at, you know, the shape in the background, those dots are making of a phone, and you know, how to include that maybe. And then started looking even closer. So this was almost my Fill the Frame pick for this assignment. I just loved the dirt, the dust, a little bit of graffiti, which by the way, when I was looking at the photos, whoever this person is was also had some graffiti on my other photos too. Thought that was kind of fun. So, you know, playing with whether I should include the phone at the top or not. I actually think that this is probably stronger, but this is still a pretty good photo. And then yeah, just playing with different angles and such. So just wanted to show you guys like what it looks like. You know, yes, take that first awkward shot, I guess you could call it, but then, you know, start moving around and trying to find those different angles. All right, so within all of these, now what I ended up doing was using a combination of both stars and flags. So I started off with some different starring and, you know, which ones do I like the most, and then decided when I really finally decided on the last one, I put a flag on there instead. And that was because I have all of these different, you know, I don't know, did I go to 3 stars on one, 4 stars on another? Who knows? So instead I went ahead and used flags for my final pick, so I can come back up here to the collection set, come to attribute, click on, let's go ahead and turn this off by clicking on there, click on the flag, and now I have my 5 final images. So I have, let's see, this one is going to be my Fill the Frame, this is leading lines, rule of thirds, active space, and then some framing. Now the framing I found to be one of the most difficult. I did get some good shots, I really like this one because I connect with it. I was a disabled student myself, so this kind of brought me in, and I think this really shows the power of focus in photography. This is something that's a little bit different than most mediums. Even though the disabled student program and services sign was really just a small part of the image, when we have this here, that's exactly where our eye goes, because it's the area that's fully in focus. We still, know what this stuff says, partially because we are used to seeing it, and so our brains fill it in. But really, in the long run, our eye goes straight here, even though there's areas that are really bright. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. So that's going to work out. I think it's going to work out okay. Now, another reason to have multiple images for this assignment is that once we get into editing, we might find out that a photo is just not going to look right for the assignment. So we might have to switch it up a bit. All right. So anyways, this is part 1, is editing down and deciding which of your images are the ones you're actually going to be working on and turning in.